Good evening, ECISD. My name is Scott Muri, and I'm the superintendent of Ector County Independent School District. And I want to welcome all of you to tonight's version of ECISD Live. We have a very special program tonight focused totally and completely on pre-kindergarten, our pre-K program in ECISD. We have some very special guests that are going to join us in just a few minutes to share about their experiences each day in the current situation, kind of pre-K in a pandemic. Pre-K is a little bit different this year than it has ever been before. But before we get to know those individuals, I want to share a few statistics with you about pre-K. A year ago, when I came in as superintendent, one of the primary data points that we looked at as a school system was the level of talent and ability, if you will, the level of readiness that our kindergartners experienced as they entered their first day of kindergarten. And we saw a statistic that was rather shocking to us. We saw a number that said 65% of the children in ECISD that begin kindergarten are not ready for kindergarten. And we knew that we had to do something about that. And based upon real solid research, we know that pre-kindergarten, those experiences that children have before they enter their first day of kindergarten are critically important to them. And so we made a conscious choice last year to transition our pre-K program to one that provided a half-day experience to this year, a full-day pre-K program. And the reason that we did that is because we value early learning, we value the experiences that our kids have, and we understand brain development. Scientists tell us that the first 4 years from 0 to 4 are critical in the development of a child's mind. And one of those years is their pre-K year. So the work that those children do during pre-K is critically important to brain development. They will use the knowledge and the wisdom that is gained during those pre-K years to help them be successful as they travel throughout their kindergarten through 12th grade experience, their post-secondary world, and then ultimately into life. And we want to make sure that each child that we serve in Ector County Independent School District has an opportunity to be as successful as they want to be. And that starts at birth. It continues as children spend their early years with moms and dads at home, reading books and engaging in rich conversation. And it continues as they enter pre-kindergarten for the very first time. This year in ECISD, we were surprised by some data, and that brings us to tonight's program. A data element that we saw reflected that 29% of the students that we expected to be attending pre-K today are not attending. We're missing 29% of the pre-K students in ECISD, and that is of significant concern to us. And we are spending this particular week making sure that we are reaching out to every single family in ECISD that has a 4-year-old that is currently not involved in a pre-K program. We want to talk to you, parents, tonight. Those of you that have these 4-year-olds in your homes, we want to help encourage you to allow us the privilege and honor of serving your children in one of our many pre-K programs. As I mentioned tonight, we have some special guests joining us. I'm going to call them the pre-K experts in ECISD, 2 of our pre-K principals and then 2 pretty amazing teachers that work with these children every single day. I want to first introduce Sherry Palmer. Sherry is the principal at Carver, and Carver is one of our early education centers. Carver serves a host of pre-K students. And Sherry, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and how long you've been at Carver and what you do over there? And I think you also brought a special guest with you tonight.
I did. So my name is Sherry Palmer, and I have the amazing opportunity to be the principal of Carver Early Education Center. I'm starting my 10th year here. I've been in education almost 4 decades, and I have had the privilege and the opportunity to really work across the bands from collegiate level to high school to middle school to elementary school. And I just have to tell you, this pre-K is the most amazing thing I've ever done in my life. They're young, their brains are ready, they're curious, they're so smart, they're so willing. And so it's one of the most amazing things I've ever had the opportunity to be a part of in my life.
Good, good, good. Well, we appreciate the work that you do. And Sherry, I'm going to let you introduce your special guest. I think you brought somebody with us.
I would love to. So Dion Paquette is one of our amazing special education teachers at Carver, and I'd like to introduce her.
There you go. Welcome, Ms. Paquette.
Thank you so much. I'm Dion Paquette. This is my 32nd year teaching, all in ECISD, and this is my 20th year in pre-K.
Wow, 20 years. That's a long time. Have you always been in elementary? Have you always been in elementary, or?
Yes, I've taught pre-K through third, and then at one time I was a reading recovery teacher.
Oh, wow, good. So thanks for joining us tonight. We look forward to hearing a little bit more from you as we continue our program. We have the other education center represented as well, Lamar Early Education Center. Mary Jane Hutchins is with us tonight. Mary Jane, you want to? We appreciate you giving some time to us tonight, sharing your words of wisdom.
Absolutely. I am Mary Jane Hutchins. I'm the principal here at Lamar, and so my story is a little bit different than others. I started out 24 years ago as a teacher here at Lamar. I've taught special education. I've taught regular education. I moved into the assistant principal position, and this is my third year as the principal here at Lamar. And I'm just going to echo pretty much what Ms. Palmer said. We have the most amazing job in the district, I believe. Our kiddos, they come to us ready to learn. They're willing and eager. They're excited every single day. It doesn't matter what day of the week it is. They're excited, and they're excited to be here. They learn so much. When they come to us at the beginning of the year, they're a little bit unsure. But very, very quickly, they pretty much own the place. They own their learning. They just make leaps and bounds of progress. And it is such a pleasure and just a joy to get to see that every single day.
Good. Ms. Hutchins, I think you brought a special guest with you tonight as well.
And I would love to introduce her as well. Jennifer Merriman is one of my general education teachers here at Lamar.
Welcome, Ms. Merriman. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Yes, thank you. My name is Jennifer Merriman, and I am a general education teacher at Lamar Early Education Center. I've been there for 9 years now, and pre-K is my passion, and I just consider myself so lucky to be able to come to school every day with them, and just to get to do this every day and teach them so much. So it's just a pure joy to come and work at Lamar.
Thank you. Ms. Hutchins, I'm going to stay with you. I'm going to start the first question with you. As a leader of a pre-K environment, when we think about what is pre-K, kind of answering that question, I know one of the things that I sometimes hear from those that may not understand the purpose or the value of pre-K is that pre-K is basically a babysitting service, and we drop our kids off and people babysit them all day and we pick them up. So pre-K equals daycare. I can tell you from my own observations, that's not what I have seen. Talk to me a little bit about what is pre-K.
Absolutely. We certainly are not daycare, but what we are high quality education. We build that foundation. We set the tone for school. We have certified teachers, and every single day we are academic based. Our kids learn how to write their name. They learn letters, colors, numbers, shapes. They learn how to listen to stories. They learn how to make friends and get along with one another. They learn things like learning how to walk in a line, and that's important. That is an important skill. They learn how to raise their hands. We are academically based, and there's just really not a lot of ways to say that other than we build a strong academic foundation from day one. We don't wait. We start that very first day, instilling a love for learning, of course, but it is academic based.
Good. Ms. Palmer, kind of the same question to you. One of the words that I heard Ms. Hutchins use quite a bit was the word learn. Talk about that aspect of pre-K.
Well,
do pre-Kers really learn?
Yes. And what I kind of want people to understand is that we have something called the Texas PreK guidelines. Most of the audience might be familiar with something called the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills. And so we have a curriculum, and it's called the Texas PreK guidelines. There are 10 domains. Each one of those domains have anywhere from 1 to 5 categories. And in those categories, there's anywhere from 2 to 15 different outcomes. So it's a robust curriculum that we are responsible for. Vocabulary building, teaching them, of course, just the foundational phonological awareness. We are setting a foundation for our kids to learn to read. And if it's like a kid crawling before they walk, if those foundation things aren't there, then it's not going to happen for them.
Yeah,
one of the most important things that we do is develop oral language in what we do. So our kids learn a lot.
Yeah. Fluency, speaking in fluency, that oral language development, I think, is important. It is interesting. There was a little bit of research done just about vocabulary and children that come from families that do not engage in conversation, and the significant word gap, not just, hundreds or thousands of words, but millions of words. There is a gap, and pre-K is one of those opportunities that allows kids to close that gap. Because the development of oral fluency and oral language is critically important. So good for you. Ms. Paquette, you are the real thing. You're a teacher. And so your principal just talked about kind of philosophically what pre-K is about, but you live it every day in the classroom. And so paint the picture for a parent. What is a typical day like for a pre-K student? What happens in pre-K?
So as soon as the children get here, we greet them, bring them in. They have breakfast. While they have breakfast, there is a teacher and an assistant talking to them the whole time. So we're building that language as a normal conversation. Then we head right over to circle time. When you go to circle time, you are busy, because you're talking about your colors, you're talking about your shapes, you're counting on a number line. We have a word wall with the alphabet. We're finding our names on the word wall. We're putting up new vocabulary from our theme on the word wall. So we're building tons and tons of language just in that 20 to 30 minute circle time to start their day. And then they're going to move in to small group activities where they're sitting at a table with a teacher and the teacher's assistant, who is in fact just a second teacher in the classroom. And so they are getting tons and tons of small group instruction. They're learning how to hold a pencil and a crayon correctly so that they can start to write their names. They're working with the letters in their names. They're working with numbers. They're working with shapes, patterning. We're trying to build all the foundational skills that they're going to need. So basically, they are learning how to do school. And so when they walk into kindergarten, they are ready to sit down and learn how to read.
Good. Miss Merriman, what about you? Again, you live it every single day as you are a teacher. One of the things I heard a parent say the other day, she was talking about resources. And she was describing, what pre-K kids have available in your classroom or teachers like you versus what she has available in her home. And your kids have access to some pretty amazing tools and resources. So talk about the pre-K experience at your school. What do kids do?
Yeah, well, it was covered pretty well already, but we do have access to amazing resources, a lot of technology actually that we can incorporate into our lessons. We're really trying to tap into their natural inquisitive nature of students, and we use that to strengthen all of those foundational skills. So we want to just boost that self-confidence as they learn that mistakes are opportunities to learn, and they can grow because of that. So they take more risks, they recover faster, and they're more willing to challenge themselves just because we're doing things and presenting concepts in a play-based, developmentally appropriate way.
Yep. So you used an interesting word, play. It goes back to that daycare scenario. Is play a real way to learn?
Absolutely. Absolutely. One, it's fun. So when you're teaching a new skill, you don't want to overwhelm. You want to do it in a way that attracts them to the activity, so that they're interacting with materials that we have in the classroom and getting to practice what we're learning, those concepts. And the best way to do that is on their level through play, where it's just a fun experience and they're able to just grasp those concepts fully and then be able to reciprocate it back to us.
Good. Ms. Palmer, I want to come back to you. You mentioned one of the comments you made was that pre-K is foundational. There are foundational elements to a child's learning journey that begin in pre-K. Talk specifically about reading. What happens in a pre-K environment that supports kids in the area of reading?
Well, we've already spoken about oral language development. Oral language is foundational to learning to read, and it's connected directly to the thinking process. If you can't think, you really can't talk. If you can't talk, you can't read. If you can't read, you can't do math. So we can just go on and on and on and on and on. So our kiddos, of course, are exposed to letters, letter knowledge, not only identifying the letters themselves, but beginning to tune their ears, if so to speak. You've got to hear sounds and differentiate between the sounds, and then connect those to letters in order to learn how to read. So an amazing thing happens at pre-K oftentimes. A kiddo might not know the name of a letter, but they might know the sound of the letter. And so that's been an interesting discussion actually at our school. So does a kid really need to know the name of the letter? I mean, to read? Really? Well, I don't know. I think you have to know the sound of the letter. And so we spend a lot of time, I want to say, tuning them to where then they can then begin those other skills in order to learn to read.
Sure. Let's talk about mathematics for a minute, Ms. Hutchinson. As you think about, Sherry talked a little bit about reading. What about in mathematics? What are students doing foundationally in pre-K that might build some of those skills in the area of mathematics? Mary Jane, sorry.
You're good.
There she is.
Every day we're doing math skills and math activities. It might be counting on the calendar. It might be doing some patterning on the calendar. We do the number knowledge. Of course, learning to just rote count. Specifying. But math is embedded in that. Math is all around us every single day. Maybe they're as they're walking outside, they're counting the lines on the sidewalk. Maybe as when they go to line up, are they in a boy-girl pattern? Are they boy-girl, boy-girl?
Yep.
So every day math is embedded into what we do. So it builds that foundation of math for them every single day in everything that we do.
Good. I think those are important. So I'm going to talk to the teachers now, kind of the same thing. And I'll let either one of you take it. Let's talk about reading and mathematics, maybe some specific things that you all do to build those skills. What does that look like in the classroom, both the reading and mathematics? Ms. Paquette or Ms. Merriman, either one of you can take one of those.
Well, for the reading, I remembered when I was a reading recovery teacher and I was working with kids that were way below grade level on their reading. The biggest problem they had was comprehension. And the reason they couldn't comprehend what they were reading is because their vocabulary was so limited. And they didn't have a lot of academic words in their vocabulary. They just had the basic words in their vocabulary to get by. And so it's so very important at an early age to build their vocabulary and to teach them words that you wouldn't think about. So, for example, last week we were talking about homes, and so we were learning about animal habitats. So if your child went to pre-K last week, they know what a habitat is. They know what a hollow log is. They know what a cave is. And that's just not normal vocabulary that comes up in day-to-day life.
Sure. Yep. That's good. What about mathematics, Ms. Merriman?
Well, for math, the main goal is just to incorporate it into what we're doing every day. Ms. Hutchins did speak about doing it in calendar, doing patterning. This week, we're really focusing on shapes. So it looks really different and fun in the classroom where we're looking at the shape, then we're building the shape with different materials. Then we're going on a shape hunt and looking all over the classroom and trying to find those shapes and making those connections between what is in what we're doing on our activities to real world life. So just as soon as they can make those connections, they start to grasp that mathematical language and those concepts. And math isn't as scary. It's, just something fun that's every day.
Yeah. What I hear from all four of you is this connection between reading and mathematics is not as if they sit in isolation in our classrooms. They actually occur together. And all heads are nodding. That's good to see. Nice to hear. Since we're all on the screen right now, I want to shift the conversation a little bit. When we advertised tonight's ECISD Live, we called it, pre-K in a pandemic. And I know that word pandemic sends chills up and down all of our spines. Pre-K looks, sounds, everything about pre-K is different this year. We've got some video that we're going to play over the top of some of our conversations. Sherry, let's go to you first. What has changed this year in pre-K because of the pandemic?
One of the largest changes at Carver was how we arrive at school and how we leave school. So prior to this year, our parents literally walked into the school door and picked up their children at their classroom door. So this year, we just couldn't do that because we got to limit the numbers of people moving in and out of our building. So we began to meet the children on the curb. So the parent takes the child out of the car, puts the backpack on the child, puts the face mask on the child, and then we walk them into the building and they hand sanitize immediately when they walk in the building. But I have to say it's been fun too. We've made some great relationships with parents on the curb.
Sure.
So some things stay the same, like relationships and about greeting kids and those kinds of things. So we keep hand sanitizer everywhere. There's gallons and gallons and gallons of hand sanitizer in this building.
Yes.
And kids really, it doesn't take much to teach them what they should do. We just started from day one, teaching that every time they shift from one area to another, we wash our hands or we sanitize.
Yeah. Mary Jane, what about you? What are some big changes that are placed in school because of COVID-19?
Arrival and dismissal was definitely a huge shift for us, and in a surprisingly good shift. We've always had parents drop kids off in the foyer and then they walk to class kind of in math. This is a way to put that. And we knew this summer that was going to have to change. And so I sat down with some of my leadership team here on my campus and we said, what are we going to do different? How can we spin this thing and make it something positive? So we are very blessed here at Lamar. Every classroom has a patio door that opens out onto our playground. So our parents come in the morning and they come onto our playground and they literally walk the child to the classroom patio door outside. And at the door, children are greeted by their teacher with a note, a greeting, of course. They're given hand sanitizer and then they come on into the classroom and then the parent goes ahead and walks to their car. Dismissal is the exact opposite of that. Parents walk up to the door and pick their children up.
Sure.
We, in the past, we would have had parents physically sign out on a piece of paper. Everybody used the same pen and touched
Yeah.
the same paper.
Mm-hmm.
And now we use a QR code that one of our teachers created for us, and we like that. So a big shift, but probably one of the most positive things that we've done, because parents see teachers every single morning and every single afternoon. And so there's a connection there that we would have had, but maybe we wouldn't have had it the first week of school. It would have taken a while to build it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I want to bring our two teachers on right now, and we'll keep playing this video. The two of you have had a lot of changes in your classrooms. You know, as we watch this video, we've asked all teachers, really anybody that is in contact with students, to wear a mask and a face shield. And so that has created a different world for you. And I know it's more difficult to communicate with your students, but what else has changed for you in the classroom because of COVID-19?
I think just being more cognizant of sanitizing the room constantly. And so anytime you get up, the table is sanitized. If you use a manipulative, the manipulative is sanitized. Just being very, very aware of how clean we're keeping everything. And for instance, our custodians are walking around all day long cleaning doorknobs. So the doorknobs are cleaned all day long, all over the building. And I think that's the biggest change for me, besides the mask and the face shield.
Yeah, I've seen, in fact, as we're watching the video, I've seen lots of cleaning, lots of hand sanitizing. I watched a teacher teach the little ones, you know, how to appropriately sanitize your hands to make sure that you kill all of those germs. Jennifer, what about you?
Right. We had to really think about how the children would be moving through the classroom and really just set those safety procedures in place and teach them. This is why we're wearing a mask, and this is why it's important. And any transition, we're washing hands, we're sanitizing, we have songs that go with that. So all the kids have their individual bins instead of community bins. They have their supplies in one place, so they're not cross-contaminating at all. When they're done with something, it gets placed in a bin for cleaning. And we have sanitizing stations all around the classroom so that they know when they're moving or transitioning, it's time to clean and sanitize. And they've been amazing with doing it because they know that our priority is keeping them safe, and their job is to help keep it safe.
Yep. So kids are a part of the process, even at the age of 4. No.
Yes, they even understand that the playgrounds are closed.
Yeah.
And so we'll go for a walk. We have a little turf area where we can bubbles and they can run around and chase bubbles, but everyone knows they can't get on the playground equipment. And so it's just the new norm now, and they understand that.
They do. Our kids are resilient, and they'll certainly overcome the challenges that they're faced with right now, but they understand sometimes more than we give them credit, even at the age of 4 years old. I want to go back to our two principals for just a minute. Sherry and Mary Jane, you know, we have a group of parents that have chosen not to send their kids to pre-K this year. And as we've done some listening, one of the primary reasons that we're hearing is safety. Parents are fearful of sending their children to school in this pandemic. And so, you know, as you talk to these parents tonight that are watching and may have reservations about sending their children, what might you say to them that would provide some reassurance that our pre-K program is appropriate and safe for their kids? Sherry, start with you.
I think I'd like them to know that Lamar and Carver both really do own our children. And so the decisions that we make about our kids is because we love them and we care for them. And so when we started talking about safety and extra hand sanitizing and changing the dismissal and all of those kinds of things, we really started from the perspective as if I were the parent or if I were the grandparent of a child coming to my school, how would I want that school to function? in terms of being safe. And so on a day-to-day basis, we really are um, continually thinking about the safety of our school, continually making adjustments. If something isn't working, then we're going to fix it. If we think we need to like bone up in an area, then we're going to do it. So parents, what I would say to you is that trust us, because we don't take this lightly. We take it very, very, very seriously. We love your children, and we're going to take care of them.
Mary Jane.
I have, since I became the principal, the leader of the school, I have said my job is to keep my students safe. That is my primary job. And so this year it just took on a whole different perspective, I guess, a whole different turn. And so, like I said a while ago, as a team, we sat down this summer and said, what do we have to do? Where do we start? And what does that look like? And we literally went through every procedure, through our classrooms. What do our classrooms need to look like to keep kids safe? We went so far as to we knew we probably needed an isolation room in case we had a sick child, and we didn't want that child maybe in our nurse's office. But we also knew that we still had to be developmentally appropriate with what that looked like for our kids, because again, we want them to feel safe and comfortable here. So my team got together and we took the teacher's lounge. We took it away and changed it. We created what we call the bunkhouse in there. And that is our isolation room. So if we have a child that has a fever, that's where they get to go. It's not where they have to go. It's where they get to go. And we have tents in there like it's a camping expedition. And we have some toys that are easily sanitized. And that's where kids get to go if they have a fever. So we took it aspect that we could think of. How are we going to keep the students the safest? What are we going to do? It's been a team effort. It's certainly not just been me. I've had the brilliant minds that work here in my school to put their heads together and come up with procedures and activities that keep kids safe. Sanitizing, even in terms of my students don't walk up and down the halls because we do have those patio doors. So we even got down to, when they're making transition from one place to another, do we have to use the hallways? We don't. We can use our patio doors and we can stay safe that way. So the children are very self-contained, I guess, in a classroom that is amazing. They're inviting. So we've covered the safety aspect of it, but we've also kept it developmentally appropriate for the 4-year-old. So I would say to moms and dads, like Ms. Palmer said, we love your children, and we're going to keep them safe. We're the safekeepers of this building.
You used an interesting couple of words, developmentally appropriate. One of the reasons, and we've been asked this question, why don't we require masks of our pre-K students? And the answer for that is it's not developmentally appropriate. Our medical team has advised us that it isn't developmentally appropriate to require a mask for a 4-year-old all day long. Certainly there are opportunities during the day, and I know some of you have kids wear them in the hallways and other places, but all day long, it's just not developmentally appropriate. Some of our kids may try to do that. It's a challenge for them. I'll ask our two teachers the safety questions. And I know some of you've talked a little bit about this, but reiterate, what are some of the specific things that you do as a teacher in the classroom to ensure the safety of our kids in this COVID-19 environment? Jennifer, we can start. Sorry, Jennifer, we can start with you.
I'm sorry. Okay. Like Ms. Hutchins said, we walked through every routine and procedure in the classroom. So just from the moment they arrive, we're doing a fun no-touch greeting. So we're still getting that connection piece with our kids, and we're doing it in a fun way. Then they come into the classroom, they sanitize, they wash their hands. And what is great about we're keeping them safe and keeping all of these safety protocols in place, still doing pre-K, we're still offering these hands-on activities. We're still doing play-based. We're not just, here's a piece of paper, don't touch anything. So we've found ways to make it appropriate for our kids. And so that they can really get that pre-K experience and get those big foundational skills that they need to be ready for kindergarten.
I even saw one of the signs right outside a pre-K classroom talked about just the different greetings you could use as you enter. And it was, things that don't require touch. It was the wave, it was the 2 thumbs up, it was the, air high fives, it was the air hug, but nothing involved touch. Again, very different from the greetings they may have done last year. But this year, again, you all have been creative and you found some ways to engage the kids that keep them safe at the same time. Deanna, what about you?
Well, I think it's important for families to understand that we are very passionate about what we do. And so our classrooms are our home away from homes. We spend a lot of time in our classrooms. For example, I've been in my classroom since 7:15 this morning. So I want to be in a nice, clean place that's taken care of. And so we take very good care of our rooms. And the children are delivered breakfast to our rooms. So they eat breakfast in here, just like they would eat it at your breakfast table at home. And then at lunch is delivered. And so they're sitting in the same place they were for breakfast to eat lunch. And the tables have been cleaned probably 3 or 4 times between breakfast and lunch. And so we are staying in our rooms for the biggest majority of the day. Our restrooms, for the most part, are in our classrooms, and we're not sharing those with any other class. ECISD is providing a bottle of water per child per day. So we're not even using water fountains. The water fountains have been wrapped in plastic and they're completely off limits. They're closed. And so everybody has their very own water bottle. They have their own place to eat breakfast, their own place to eat lunch. And like I said, we just have our family in our classroom, and we want to keep our family safe. And the second a child goes on to a teacher's role, that child belongs to that teacher. And I believe that's for every teacher. We all feel the same way. They're our kids. And so we're going to take as good a care of your kids as we possibly can, because we love them, because they're our kids too.
Yeah, good. I want to bring our 2 principals back up and talk about eligibility for just a minute. So listening tonight, and they may have decided, okay, I'm convinced I want to bring my 4-year-old to pre-K. And we've had a couple of questions tonight about, from parents that want to know about their 4-year-olds and are they eligible to come? And I want to hit that eligibility word first, because it actually means something in the state of Texas from a funding perspective. So in the state of Texas, pre-K is not mandatory. It is not required for a parent to send their children to pre-K. And because of that, the state does not fully fund pre-K. In fact, funding for pre-K is only for specific types of students. And those students are called eligible students. And the primary group of students that are eligible are students that whose family's income is below a certain threshold. So it is typically our families that are considered economically disadvantaged. And in ECISD, we have about 60% of our families that fall into that category of being economically disadvantaged. And the law in Texas says that for those families, pre-K is free of charge. And so we provide pre-K for eligible students. If a child is not eligible for pre-K, they can still attend pre-K, but we have to charge those families. And the reason we have to charge them is because the state does not provide funding for ECISD for students that are not eligible for pre-K. In the chat area, we have listed, there are 6 criteria for eligibility. Again, the largest one is poverty, but in addition to that, special education students are English learners. If a child has a family member, a parent that was killed in the line of duty, there are a variety of different eligibility allowances. And again, all of those are in Texas law. But in order to receive free pre-K, a child must be considered eligible, and that is defined by the state of Texas. If you're not eligible, then we have to charge you. And the reason for that is because we are not funded for that by the state of Texas. And so that kind of explains eligibility. The rules change when you get to kindergarten. In kindergarten, the state provides funding for every single child, no matter who you are. So we receive funding for 100% of the kids in kindergarten through 12th grade. But pre-K is a choice that we make as a school district. And because we make that choice, the state funds us a limited amount of money just for those kids that are eligible. All right. Is that anything you want to add to that, Mary Jane or Sherry? Is that accurate?
I'd just like to say that the tuition is really minimum. It's $200 a month.
Yeah.
And so you can't even really get a quality babysitter for that. Yeah. And the kids get so much more than just babysitting. If you want to talk about value of your dollar, for
$10 a day for a certified teacher.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly. And
That's
2 meals.
Amazing.
2 meals, yes.
Muri,
2 meals.
Every child at pre-K gets a free breakfast and a free lunch. So I think it's a bargain.
Well, it's a priceless bargain. You think about just, again, the benefit of pre-K and what that does, the investment that you're making in a child for life.
Absolutely.
The research is very clear. A pre-K absolutely makes a difference in the future success of kids. Absolutely, hands down. Mary Jane, did you have something to add to that?
I would just add to that. I don't know that you could really put. A price tag on the foundation that PreK builds. Sure. I think for $200 a month, I think it's a bargain too.
Kind of a bargain, pretty big bargain, I would say. Yeah, we're funded quite a bit more than that from the state of Texas. So even that $200 a month is not what Texas provides. It's expensive to educate kids, and so we appreciate Texas, the state of Texas, for providing funding for that. Again, our local taxpayers for making sure that our kids have those opportunities. Another question, kind of related to eligibility, and that is from a parent that wanted to know if a 4-year-old is not yet potty trained, can they come to pre-K? Sherry or Mary Jane, want to deal with that issue?
Sure, I'll deal with that issue. Yes.
Yeah.
We take them in pre-K. We believe that the structure that is provided in our classrooms helps with that potty training right from the start. So yes, we serve kids, and sometimes it may look like potty training. Sometimes that happens for certain. But we know that we're going to prepare that child for kindergarten, and if they're not potty trained yet, they need our help.
Sure.
To get them ready for kindergarten. So my answer is yes, we do that.
Bring them on. Good. All right.
Bring them on, yeah.
Dr. Muri, we're not going to deny a 4-year-old an education for any reason.
Good.
And so that's my standard answer when somebody says, well, what if they're not potty trained? Well, okay, we're still not going to deny them an education just because they're not potty trained.
That's a powerful answer, Ms. Palmer. That's a powerful answer. We will not deny. Will not deny. All right, ladies, we're going to wrap this up, and I want to ask one more question. We may have some folks on the fence tonight, moms and dads that are watching, and they're still a little uncertain as to if they should send their kids to pre-K. So as we walk around the room tonight, we'll start with our teachers. Dion, we can start with you. What would be your why? Why should a parent in this pandemic situation send their child to pre-K?
Well, because we promise you that we're going to do the best we can to keep your child safe at all times. And we value your child very much, you and your child, and we want to provide the best for them. And pre-K is a little bit different than elementary school. Your child is not going to be sitting at a desk. They're not going to be sitting working on worksheets. We fully immerse your child into the curriculum. And so they are going to learn, and they are going to have so much fun while they're doing it. And I would invite all the parents to go on the Carver Facebook page and the Lamar Facebook page and just look back. Look at what all we've done this year. We've shared a lot on our Facebook pages. And so you can go through and look and go back and look at last year, and you can compare last year to this year. And you're going to see what amazing, amazing opportunities your child will have in pre-K.
Thank you, Dion. Jennifer, what about you? What's the why?
Same thing. I think anyone who teaches pre-K, it is a calling. It is a passion. We are there because we love your kids and we want them to be successful. And our priority right now is to keep them safe. And we are going to do everything we can to keep them safe and to help them focus on the important work of learning and growing and building that foundation. Especially now that pre-K is full day, we get the opportunity to really slow down our curriculum and focus and dig deep into those concepts and early learning skills. And it's just so beneficial for them, and it will help them get ready for kindergarten. And we're just there and willing for the challenge.
Good. Thank you, Jennifer. Mary Jane, as a leader of pre-K in ECISD, what is the why?
I would just, I think I would just ask parents to give pre-K a chance. Like we've said all evening, we're gonna keep children safe. That is our job. We're gonna keep them safe. We're gonna love them. I have a building full of teachers that their passion is pre-K, and the children are going to learn so much. And I think parents will look back at the end of the year and just be amazed at the growth in their children. And we're just setting them up for future success throughout their school journey. So I would ask parents to give pre-K a chance and come join the journey with us.
Absolutely. Good. The final word is yours, Sherry.
Well, Dr. Muri, when you first came to ECISD, you said people asked you why you were going to go to ECISD, Odessa, Texas, and your answer was, why not? So why not come to pre-K? We've made all of the measures to keep your child safe. We have certified teachers and aides in every classroom. We love your child. We have a rigorous curriculum. I can just honestly tell you that every child will have growth that comes here. Every child. We can guarantee that every child will be different academically and socially, and as little human beings, from the very first day that they walk in our doors to the end day that they walk in our doors. So why not? And we'd invite you to call us. We'd invite you to have the conversation with us. We'd invite you to give us the chance over the phone, or we'll meet you at the front door. We'll show you video. We'll do what we need to do to answer that question, why, to you.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Why not? I want to say thank you to 4 extraordinary leaders of early education in ECISD. It is an honor and a privilege to serve with these 4. And I will tell the 4 of you, you have a wild and crazy fan club out there. Lots of family and friends that were shouting out each of you tonight. So thank you for joining us, and thank you for what you do every day in service of our 4-year-olds and our 3-year-olds in ECISD. The investment that each of you are making, the fact that you're in your classroom from 7:15 in the morning until now, says a lot about the passion that you have for the kids that we serve. So on behalf of the school district, I say thank you for joining us tonight. And for you, thank you, moms and dads and educators and friends of ECISD, for spending the last hour with us this evening. It's always a pleasure to welcome you into our home and share the incredible work that our team is doing for the 34,000 kids that we serve in Ector County Independent School District. My name is Scott Muri. I'm the superintendent at ECISD. It was an honor having you tonight. Have a good evening and good night.